Welcome to the Tech Sales Funnels podcast, where we dive deep and answer the ultimate question, how did you hack into tech sales? Each week, we bring you inspiring stories, proven strategies, and insider tips from top performers who've cracked the code to break into tech sales and thrive. Whether you're just starting out, making a career pivot, or ready to level up, this is your go-to space for actionable advice and real-world success stories. Let's crack the code together, because hacking into tech sales isn't just a dream, it's your next move. Now with your host, the founder of Tech Sales Funnels and the tech sales hacker himself, Dayvisson DaSilva.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Tech Sales Funnels podcast. This is Dayvisson DaSilva, the tech sales hacker, your host. And today I'm super excited to bring a friend that I met probably about a year ago. And since then, we have been doing different things together. I just love her personality, her fire, just how driven she is. And when I created this podcast, I made a list of a bunch of people. She doesn't even know that. And I wanted to interview her on the podcast. So welcome today, Steffany Medina. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. I've, been thinking about joining the podcast for a while. So it's interesting that you already had me on the short list. But I was
Yes.
like, okay, I'm excited. But
Yes.
it lucked out with both of our schedules just now.
That's awesome. So it should be super, super exciting. You're a good friend, a good example for me as well. So I know your story is going to inspire a lot of people, whoever's listening to this today. Now, I like to make an introduction, but I also like people to ask them to introduce themselves. So let's forget about tech sales for a second. I know this podcast is for sellers, tech sellers, and let's talk about you. If you're like on a bar, on the elevator, whatever, like if someone asks about Steffany, who's Steffany? Who's Steffany Medina?
Oh man, what a layered question. So I am a daughter, a friend. I am a first generation immigrant. My parents moved here from the Dominican Republic. And yeah, I've just, I've always been someone who came up from a really big family, and I believe in community and giving back. And I feel like that very much translates with a lot of like my values, as well as kind of have shown up in my career and the things that matter to me, right? So folks like you that are always giving back, always going above and beyond, I just have found my tribe, and I'm excited to be here to talk a little bit more about it.
It's awesome. We do have a lot of stuff in common as immigrants, as Latinos, the language, the culture, and all that. So that's one of the biggest reasons we vibe. We're also both overachievers, and we're in sales. So why sales, Steffany? Can you give us a little bit of a background? How did you get started in tech sales?
So the politically correct thing to say is just because I love sales so much that I could not go one day without it. But in reality, I think you and I both know that this profession kind of chooses you. You don't necessarily choose it, right? So,
yeah.
that was kind of my story. And I'll kind of take you back almost a decade now, because that's how long I've been doing this. I was in college. I was studying pre-med. I was scheduled to graduate, and I decided to go to a college fair. And that debt was whispering in my ear. I was like $40,000 in debt at this point as a student. And someone with this big grin and this warm energy came up to me and was like, "Have you ever considered sales?" And I said, "That is not for me. Absolutely not. I will never do that. I'm not one of those people."
Right.
I don't know what that means now, but it was definitely one of those things that it caught me by surprise. But then the more that I thought about it, just I really wanted to be able to go ahead and do something that was really hard. I had never considered this before. No one in my family had ever done it. When I had mentioned it in passing, like not even really considering dipping my toes in, My family basically told me, don't even think about it because that would be too difficult. It would be impossible. You don't
Mm,
know if you're going to be able to make money. But I'm really glad that I took the leap of faith and I took a chance on doing it. And really, what was kind of encouraging me to do that was I really wanted to pay off those student loans, right? So,
interesting. Financial motivation.
so I was very motivated. No one had done this before. I was being told by everyone, including my mom, and probably someone else's mom, that I probably shouldn't do this. And I just knew, maybe instinctively, I don't know, maybe I was called. Like I said, I feel like this profession
Mm,
kind of uses you, that I had to do this because it was going to be really, really hard. And then I was going to probably learn a lot about myself in the process. So that's how I got started. And
okay. Okay. Wow.
now, look
A
at me
decade.
now.
So I can see a Latino family like, no, this is
Yeah,
enough for women or for you, right? They wanna what's the best for you, and it can be high risk, high return, right? But it's not for everyone. What do they think about now? Like, hey, you survived. You have not survived.
yeah.
Hello, you have thrived. You're doing super well. What do they talk like? What do they say now? Thanksgiving dinner. It's like,
Thanksgiving dinner is always interesting just because, sales, you have to fight for it every year. You have to
mm-hmm,
fight for it every time, every sale, every deal. And hopefully it becomes you create systems, and we can get to that a little bit later, and it becomes a little bit smoother. But ultimately, it's definitely something that I've earned. And I feel
mm-hmm,
like now that they have seen kind of the fruits of my labor, they've seen a version of success. They're like, okay, we trust you to be able to go ahead and take care of yourself. And you're doing well for yourself. And so that's, as long as you're happy, then we're going to support you. That was
mm-hmm.
definitely not the conversation that we had when I first started, but now it's definitely a lot more of, you've earned your stripes, and they've come to respect it, and I'm really glad.
I love that. that's
Yeah.
that's amazing. You turn around. Um, again, first gen in sales, right? First gen immigrant. That's tough. That you got to build your network. You gotta
Yeah.
do a lot
Yes.
outside of the box. When it comes to you're also a woman Latina in tech sales. How is that landscape? What do you see on the field? Do you see any difference from your peers, or yeah, what's in your mind when it comes to that?
A lot is on my mind when it comes to that. Particularly, it's really something that I held on to. I went to a seminar years ago, and I was working in Orlando for a nonprofit, and a few cybersecurity specialists and people in technology were there. And they had told me essentially that only 3% of Latinas, or 2 or 3% of
Wow.
Latinas and women of color, are in the tech industry. And I was
Mm,
floored by that because there's so many layers to that of why is it not more of us, but also why was I one of the few ones that was able to get through, and how can I get more of my fellow Latinas here, right?
mm-hmm,
What can I do to kind of forge a path or open up the pathways for more women to take this opportunity or to be where I am. And so that was, really a vital moment. That was like the crux of a lot of things that I was thinking about for years now years in my career, because that was almost 4 years ago, mind you, where I had learned about that statistic, and it
mm,
hasn't changed. So,
wow.
yeah, it's pretty much flatlined. There's been no real change in that statistic, unfortunately. And a lot of the times while I'm doing my work, I don't really necessarily see a person that looks like me in the room. I've been
Mm-hmm,
blessed in such that I've had really great mentors, role models, and that has made all the difference for myself. But I've had to seek that out, right? So it's been
mm,
a lot of intentionality, I would say, is very important because there's not a lot of people in the room. We have to be very aware of essentially where are people how are we presenting ourselves, and if you can find people that would help you out, they don't necessarily have to look like you. There could be someone who's willing to champion you. So that's something that
Mm,
I would actually say. I was always taught, like, oh, look for someone, that has done this before, that looks like you, or that knows where you're
hmm.
coming from. But if no one in the room looks
Looks
like
like you.
comes where you come from, you can't just isolate yourself. You still have to find opportunity. And that's really going to come by putting yourself out there, consistently showing up, doing good work, and then asking people, what can I do better? Where can I grow? And you would be surprised the people that will come out to support you. Really.
Yeah, I love that you took that approach because you're not the underdog, right? So it's like, yes, you're like the 3%, but you're finding a way around the percentage. You're finding a way around the statistics, and also you're not profiling any specific groups. Like you're just like, hey, there's people out there. There's amazing people, different ages, different stages, different
Yeah.
colors, whatever, different personalities, and you can always find. You just have to look for. You have to hustle and find those people. That's good. I love that. Bad statistics, but a lot of work to be done. Let's just say that.
That's exactly how I see it. I feel like as salespeople, we're eternal optimists, right? So if I see 3% of women, Latinas, women of color in the tech industry, that just means we have so much more room to grow. So let's get it.
Mm.
Let's go. Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I love that.
growth opportunity right there. Like if we can get it to 5% next year, that's probably wild numbers. But it's always with that mindset of like, what can I do to kind of take one step forward, or to make it easier for some of the people coming behind me, right? So
Mm.
that's the only thing we can focus on.
Yes, 100%. I love. That's the mindset, right? So now we talked about that. The mindset right there. It's what makes the seller successful. So I want to dive a little bit into that because I know you're a top performer in your team right now. You're a leader in your organization, not only in revenues but also in different things that you do inside and outside of work. What it takes to be a top performer? Like, is that a formula? Is that something that's just like you developed over time? It's just your background. What do you think?
Mm, Luckily, I would say I've had, just like I mentioned, really good mentors. And there was also just a tad wee bit of that natural sense of perfectionism there, right? So
Mm.
I'm going to definitely give myself that. But I would, one of the things that really helped me, particularly this year, is that I was very intentional in my conversations with people. Um, in like the past year, when I just had a really great year. It wasn't by
Mm.
mistake. I do tell people, it's, when people are consistently performing or overperforming, or, reaching the top sales, it's not like by happenstance, it's by design, right? So a lot of the things that I've done is just to build systems for myself that work, ways
Mm.
that I can hold myself accountable, telling my team, my director, the things that are important to me, highlighting what some of my priorities are, and if those align with what's going on with the company right now and what's going on with my department specifically. So I would say one of the things that's been a little bit different is how I tend to do my job and business overall is actually a big picture person. So I know a lot of people are like, oh, the attention to detail and focusing on, all of these little things is what matters. I don't disagree with that. But what has helped me figure out what's important, what's urgent, what do I need to actually take care of, has always been going back to what's the big picture as my organization at large,
Mm.
and being very vocal about that. Like I will actually point blank ask what is important right now, what should we be focusing on, what are the objectives, and my manager and usually like the higher ups have no problem telling you what that is, because believe it or not, they do in fact want that to be done, right? So
Mm.
it's usually like in their best interest to let people know what is the outcome that they're looking for, right? And so keeping that in mind, I kind of take the big picture, and then I break it down as to how can what am I in control of, what's in front of me, and what can take those a step, closer to reaching those goals, right? So I kind of have that top down approach where I'm like, all right, this is the big goal. How do I break it down into smaller things as to the different areas that I have to focus on? Maybe it's like new business, renewals, retention,
Mm,
customer service, or networking. Actually having those just conversations like, hey, how's your dog? Those details do matter, like I said, and
yeah.
bringing that into the mix as well, so that I'm not losing on those relationships that I've built, and that sets me up for a really good year. And then
Mm,
hopefully a really good year sets me up for an even better year. So it's all those little components that come together that kind of make the magic sauce, right? In here. So
I like that.
yeah.
Yeah, so you touched a lot of points there. Systems,
Yeah.
mentorship, big pictures. There's a lot of good stuff to uncover. I want to talk about a little bit more about what motivates you though. Like, because sales is not easy. There's a lot of ups and downs. It's like a roller coaster. And the best sellers, they have something outside of just the financials that drives them.
Mm.
What's that for you? Like, what keeps Stephanie, continue to go and push hard? At first was paying off those student loans,
Yeah.
and then proving yourself to your family. But what now? Like after a decade, what's
What
driving you these days?
now? So that's I get asked that question actually all the time, believe it or not,
Yeah.
Dave. I'm sure that you believe it. If it's not the money, then what?
Yes.
So, really, at this point, one of the things that really drives me is my clients. Like, I actually have formed
Mm,
like a community. So when you're at that point where you're actually having those conversations of, hey, how's your daughter? How are the kids at home? You do actually care. I would hope so.
mm-hmm,
um, and you start to build these relationships with these people. I really have gotten to know their businesses, what matters to
mm,
them as business owners, and been kind of a increment like a really important part of their team, essentially on the sales side, where I'm providing them with the service, but I've also focused a lot on being highly consultative in my approach, so that I've actually gotten to know them as people. And so
mm,
there's definitely that approach of like, I believe in what I'm doing, belief in what I'm selling. I enjoy what I do. There's a self fulfillment, like, kind of process to it too, of like, okay, if I do this, then I know that I put my best foot forward and that these are the outcomes that are going to come out from it. So that all of it is great. I would say though, at the very end of the day, when I'm putting, pen to paper, or I'm going to go to sleep and I'm wanting to go to sleep with a smile on my face,
mm,
it's just knowing that I just did a little bit better today, like 1%
mm.
better. Just be 1% better each day. Um, so yeah, I think that's what's driving me right now. It's just
That's
like I I'm really like I feel like I can continue going because I could just do that 1% better the next day.
I really really like that, and I like that you mentioned about really being close to your clients, being the honest desire to help and to serve. And I feel
Yeah.
like I think there's a quote that says you can get anything in life when you help other people get what they really want. It's like it's a quote like that. Can't remember now, but it looks like you are like really into the really serving your clients and being able to provide that solution and getting better
I
every
would say,
day.
yeah, community ended up being a lot more important, of like a value pillar for me, as I was kind of going along my career. I realized, like the statistics were crazy, right? But when you go out and you ask for help, the people that were willing to help me and the support that I've had throughout my career, including, like incredible people that I've met, like you, and all of those little things, like my clients, the mentors, the incredible friendships, and then also the ways that I can give back, because after you pay off your student loans, I don't know if you knew this, but you might have a little bit of extra cash. So the ways that you can kind of give back, that really started to open up my world. And I would say a lot of it has to do with just like, okay, I have a little bit more room to breathe. Now what can I do to help somebody else? Right.
Mm,
And that has brought me a lot of that sense of purpose, I would say.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so these days, thank you for that answer. These days, AI, and I have to bring that question because it's a day to day. We can't pass one day without hearing the two
Yeah.
letter. What kind of challenges and opportunities are you seeing with AI at your current job, current role?
Oh man, I love this topic. Be ready to go for days for me with me on this one. So AI's pros and cons or challenges. I would say the challenge is definitely in my mind, the security aspect of it. A
Mm,
lot of, times when you're dealing with clients, contracts, training, any sort of things, there could be a lot of proprietary information on there that you might not necessarily want to share, or it could be very general and you're not going to have a problem. But I do, want to tell everyone to think once and maybe even twice or even three times before they
mm,
upload a company deck or a client's information
mm,
up to an AI server, like some sort of information that is going to be able to be housed on there, and you don't have any control once you send it out into the big
mm.
chat GPT servers, right? So,
Yeah.
and in general, it doesn't necessarily have to be that specific AI, but in all of that information, there needs to be a lot more safeguards, I would say, in regards to what you're uploading and how you're utilizing that info. But also, you could actually have created some brilliant copyright, and as soon as you
Mm,
upload it, maybe to go ahead and proofread it or to make sure that it sounds the way that you want, have it read it out loud for whatever reason, you don't realize that you've given away your work, right? And so I feel like that's definitely something I would urge people to, be mindful of. Now, do I think that you should get rid of it? Absolutely not. I do think that is extremely helpful, right? And in many ways, helpful in many ways. Like I've actually helped it to automate a lot of like my ability to create responses for some of my go-to onboardings, for general information that I might be able to share about our company to folks while I'm prospecting.
mm,
I've used it to be able to go ahead and connect my calendar, so that it knows kind of how to organize what I'm doing in the day and what kind of priorities I should focus on. I've used it essentially
mm,
as a virtual assistant, for lack of a better
mm.
word, right?
Okay.
And so this is information that was going to be pretty public. It's not anything that I would have to hide, particularly for the company.
Mm-hmm.
They know where I'm going to be traveling. I'm booking it through the company card, right? They know where I'm going to be going. They know what I'm doing. They know the kinds of emails that I'm sending because it's all going through our CRM. And so, just in
Right.
general, I feel pretty confident in automating that part of my job. But what I feel is uniquely kind of underrated and unspoken about, and something that I'm actually really excited about, is how
Mm,
the rise of AI across all industries, doesn't matter if you're in tech, doesn't matter if you're in music, overall, it is actually calling upon us for a kind of renaissance, right? Where
mm,
we do have to actually have an understanding of critical thinking, of being able to write down our thoughts and be able to express ourselves, because AI is only as good as the people that it's feeding it, right?
mm. Love
So
that. Yeah.
you can create a lot of LinkedIn posts that are just automatically generated, but
Mm,
unless real eyeballs are going through it and resonate with that content and interact with that content, and they could feel like there's a connection to that story, that human story, then usually it's not going to lead to much of anything. It's not necessarily going to lead to a lot of engagement or conversion, which we both know is very important if you actually want to make a sale, right? You do have to connect with people. So I would say one of the things that is it's kind of coming out of this as maybe a byproduct of the AI sphere that's kind of bubbling up is that people have, noticed it. Maybe they've been a little bit afraid, but it has, kind of resurged this need for connection, for human
Interesting.
storytelling, for
Yes, I love that.
human storytelling, for actually being able to write down your own thoughts and connect with people that way, for reading an actual paper book, right? And we're seeing this across industries. That's like I said, like, so believe it or not, I know that in tech, it's all very much of like, how can we increase efficiency? How can we, increase profit? How can we make the next sale? You can do that as long as you're also focusing on the very human aspect of, okay, I know why this matters to this person, why they want to buy from me, and what would actually get them to click to go ahead and hit purchase, right?
Mm,
Because they're not gonna necessarily want to do that just because a robot told them to do that, right? So
yeah, no.
we still need that human component. And luckily for us, that's kind of our strong suit, right? We're
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
right. We're humans. We have human stories to tell. We have things in common, and usually it's going to be probably with the person that we never expected to have things in common with, and that's where the magic happens. And that's not necessarily going to happen in a server.
Yeah. So as you were thinking, like as you're thinking and talking, I was thinking about it. Um, you can send 100 emails, and you can read, let's say, 100 emails from someone. But then if they just listen to you, like you're just talking for the last 5 minutes, they'll get to know you better, who's Stephanie, than just reading
Mhm.
100 emails, right? So
Yep.
that human connection, it's more than ever with the whole AI. As a thought leader in the in sales, high performer, what do you think? Like, just wild guesses here. Just go bananas if you want to. 10 years from now, tech sales.
Tech sales.
What do you
Okay.
think? What's the future of tech sales? Like, what do you think? What would be the number one skill that a tech seller should have? What do you think? Like, what's now? Is
Mhm.
that going to change, or is it going to be the same? What do you think?
Um,
There's no right or wrong. It's just
yeah,
wild
no,
guess.
it's a really great question. I love that. And I think instinctively I kind of knew what my answer was, but there's other things that I want to add to that. My straight shot answer, storytelling.
Mm,
Storytelling is going to be the kingpin of all of this in the next 10 years. So if people know who you are, they like what you have to say, they
mm,
trust what you're saying, that you know what you're talking about, and that you actually care. You actually care about the people that you're
mm,
serving, you care about your community. That is going to get you the sale. That's going to get people to care because like you were just mentioning it, like that's going to be more impactful than if I send them 100 emails. I could send them a video, and meeting me face to face is still going to be more impactful than necessarily that video. But on that note, that video is probably going to be more impactful than necessarily me writing a 2 sentence email that was written by ChatGPT, right?
mm-hmm,
That, me actually reaching out, and even if I were to write that email, let's change it on its head. I write that email. Maybe it's 7 sentences long, but I'm actually talking about something that they've done recently, and then I know that they're excited about X, Y, and Z, and then I show that I care. Someone's probably going to like that email a lot more than the auto-generated email, but they're probably going to like the video a lot more. But they're more than likely going to enjoy actually having a conversation with me
mm-hmm.
above all, right? The reality is of it, though, we can't be. everywhere, all at
Mm,
the same time. So it's using that technology to be able to go ahead and share our stories and connect with those people, while not losing on that human connection. And in fact, actually using that technology to bridge the gap of like, I am telling my story, get it out there so that I can actually connect with the people that I need to connect with.
mm. I love that. Do you
Yeah.
think, um, yeah, so same. Right now, it's the same need. It's going to be the same need in 10 years from now. Um, I think the more technology advance we get, the more humanity, right, on the other side of the coin, the spectrum needs to
Yeah.
increase. So are we going to be buying just for friends, like people that, like face to face, like how that's going to happen? I'm
I
just thinking. I'm
mean,
just.
I argue that you're always buying things. Everything is sales, right? So
Hmm.
if your friend is trying to convince you to go down to the bar, that's a sale. And if you say yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
they got the sale, right? If your mom is trying to convince you to be nice to your uncle during Thanksgiving, and you decide to actually go ahead and give him an extra serving of mashed potatoes, she just got her sale, right? Um, we're always selling, we're always telling stories to one another. Ultimately, I don't think that that's ever going to change. I do feel like that's like an innate human, like a core instinctual thing.
Mm,
But the way that we get our stories out there and how quickly we can do it, I feel like that's what's going to change. It
mm,
already was revolutionized by the fact that we had social media, but a lot of that was a manual process. And it literally, if anyone in the audience that is listening ever survived through the MySpace days, we are well past that. Okay. So a lot of that has already been automated, but now we're taking a step further where now you only really have to focus on telling your story, and then the machines will do the rest, right? You don't necessarily have to worry about how you're going to post it because it has automatically done it for you. You can have an idea and start storyboarding with some sort of machine learning tool or anything that has to do with like AI, and already have a pivot as to how you might want to take your story. And overall, I feel like that is going to make things just a little bit faster for those folks
mm,
that have been doing that work anyway. But what I think is a unique challenge here is that now we're asking people that have been traditionally been told now for over a decade, as long as I've been doing this, as long as you've been doing this, Dayvisson, you've been doing this for a while, right? The focus has always pretty much been on big tech, work smarter, break things, move fast, that kind of thing, right? Where I feel like the unique challenge is going to be is that those folks are going to have to flip their mindset on it just being a technical challenge and
mm,
actually focus on the humanities. Like what matters to people, like how can I share my story with them, where's the artistry, the artistry of sales is going to matter
mm,
a lot more than necessarily the science. So there's an art and a
mm,
science to this. And I feel like what's changing is that we've been very scientific in our approach with sales. Make 100 calls, this much
mm.
pipeline,
Data driven.
this many, very data driven, like this many, this reach out to these many people. But now what's going to happen, because that's already been taken care of because of robots. So yay, robots.
Mm.
Now we're actually going to have to focus on the art. We're going to have to focus on.
Yeah, I love that. I just interviewed someone in the podcast that talked about laughter, the power of laughing and connecting on a human level, and training sellers on how to be like almost like comedians, like super
Yeah,
cool,
performers,
good stuff.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And
performers.
that's
This is a performance of your life. Like, let's go. This is your stage.
exactly. Yeah, I like that. And everybody's gonna have to have their own stage. Everybody's gonna have to come out,
Yeah.
and there's no more hiding, because AI is gonna take over. And if you don't be in places like this podcast, and there's a great example of just being present, right? Being human. can replicate this conversation. So that was amazing. Time is going by, and you are. I want to. You are an inspiration for also the new generation. I want you to kind of give an advice here for the early, the Steffany 10 years ago, thinking about joining tech sales. What would you, if you could go back like that question, right? What would you recommend to the new generation of tech sellers joining
Uh,
the workforce right now?
I'm excited actually with this question because I'm currently working with someone who reminds me a lot of
Mm.
myself, how I was 10 years ago. And she's brilliant. I love working with her. She's very Gen Z. So that's always been like a light in our office, right? Where we're just like, oh my gosh, like no one's been like this in the corporate space ever, right?
Right.
But I feel like to that strength, it's and I was mentioning like bringing in back that humanity aspect, bringing back that art. A lot of the younger folks are willing to be very vulnerable and honest about what they're going, which is
Mm.
authenticity. You're sharing your true story, where you're at, where you want to go, and right there is what it's going to allow people to see you and decide whether they want to help you or be part of that journey,
Mm.
right? Now, be mindful because you know obviously you don't necessarily want to share everything in the workspace, but it's definitely one of those things that I'm actually learning that from some of my younger colleagues of like actually saying what you need and how you feel in that moment and what matters to you makes it possible for people to be like, okay, I'm going to be able to support you in this way.
Mm.
And this is how, you know, the things that you mentioned that you're really passionate about. This is how we can start incorporating this in your role. So you mentioned it yourself. It's really going to be you're going to create your own stage,
Mm.
and I would encourage people if they were just getting started to really understand like why you're getting into this. If it's just for the money, you know, that's fine. You can take the money and run. But for the people that want to be in this probably for the long haul, or that actually want to learn something that they can apply in all areas of their life,
Mm.
really make it your own, right? So make sure that you ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid to look dumb. If you do, then literally only the people that are judging you are the people that are usually not growing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll leave it there. And
Mm.
make sure that you actually ask for what you need, right? So while you're asking those questions and you're sharing who you are and you're sharing about your struggles, you'll usually find the people that want to help you and that will answer those questions and help you at each milestone throughout your career, right? So that's what I
Great.
would say.
Great advice. Especially in tech sales, everything's changing so fast. There's no way you can
Yes.
know everything. You're always
Yeah,
learning, always growing. You just have to be resourceful and be able to find those answers, right? Ask. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. I love
absolutely.
it. Stephanie, how can we find? How I know you're on LinkedIn. I know you're also very active outside of your role. Like, what do you do outside of sales that's keeping you, you know, driving, thriving in the world?
Oh my gosh. So besides my regular Pilates classes, because I feel like that's a must, going to the gym. But typically, one of the things that I'm really passionate about, like I mentioned to you, is community. So
Mm.
if I'm not working and I'm not at the gym, then usually I'm working with the nonprofit that I'm on the board of. It's called Women of
Mm.
Power. And we do help women in 5 specific areas of life: housing, education, child care, you know, obviously dealing with anything that has to do with actual like physical abuse or mental health. Right. So we work with them in all of those capacities to help women that have been survivors of domestic violence get back onto their feet.
Mm.
Right. So, yeah, I've been fundraising right now for an event that we're actually going to
Yes.
be hosting on December 7th. I'm really excited about that. We have several sponsors, and organizing all of that has been very challenging, but it's been very exciting. Just because that, you know, just one sponsor of ours is able to house at least
Mm.
three homes, 3 apartments. right? So
Wow.
it's been very rewarding. It's challenging, but it's been very rewarding. And I am like very excited to see how the event goes on December 7th.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just as you were speaking, I can hear and I can sense how excited you are about being on the board of a nonprofit and giving back to the community. That's amazing, Steffany. Um, Here again, everyone, go back to the beginning. First gen in sales, a Latino leader in tech, a board member thriving in tech sales right now. And I really love all your insights and recommendations here today.
Thank you. Thank you. So, usually, like you said, people can find me on LinkedIn. So, Steffany Medina on there. But I also have an Instagram page for my company.
Mm,
It's Steffany_crosslink. And you can find me on there and engage. I'm always down.
awesome. Awesome. Connect with Steffany, follow her. She's the real deal. I'm so grateful that we are friends, and thanks so much for joining today, Steffany.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Dayvisson. Truly, it means a lot.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tech Sales Funnels podcast, where we crack the code and uncover the strategies to break into tech sales. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to hack their way into this exciting career. Remember, hacking into tech sales isn't just a goal, it's a mission. Let's keep hacking, learning, and winning together. Catch you next time.